and I represent Mr. Brian Hooker.
What just occurred inside this police station?
Well, we did a police interview in which he was questioned about the disappearance of his wife.
Has he been charged with anything?
No, he has not been charged. We completed the interview, and the officers will review the entire file and then make a decision.
When can we expect to know what their decision is on if they're going to hold him over the weekend?
We should know by 7 p.m. today. His 24 hours will be up around that time. Sorry, his 48 hours will be up by that time.
And at that point, they could file an extension, right? So he could potentially be held here until Sunday.
That is correct, yes.
What would they need to do, whether in a courtroom, in a filing, to justify that extension? Would there be paperwork where they would have to establish their reasoning for that?
Yes, they would request an extension, and basically all they would need to say is they need time to do further investigations. And once the document is signed, it goes into effect.
I think the implication out there is people would possibly think he's in custody because police think he killed his wife. Have police suggested in any way, shape, or form in these interviews that they think he killed his wife?
He was questioned in relation to causing harm, which resulted in her death, but we have no evidence that, or at least we've not been informed of any evidence that any body has been recovered or any information in relation to her death.
And he still denies causing her death.
He definitely denies causing her death, and he's still asking about her and is hopeful that she will be recovered.
Can you get into what investigators were saying? I mean, you guys were in there for about 4 hours. I mean, can you just get into what were they asking about?
They went into intensive questioning, talking about their personal life before, what people said, just general information about their relationship when they came here, just general information. It wasn't until really near to the end that they got into the specifics. And of course, he was confronted with the allegations from his stepdaughter. And he indicated, as I'd mentioned previously, that he alleges that she has a history, a mental history, and that she has been institutionalized on several occasions.
Stepdaughter.
That is correct.
Have
That's Kylie, the one who has been speaking out vocally against him.
And I think, do you mind? Could you tilt your body? No, more this way, just because
Okay,
I think
I'm
all the
sorry.
no
I'm sorry.
problem. Can you get into a little bit more detail? Have police explained why they brought Brian Hooker back to his sail vessel in handcuffs? Why was Brian Hooker brought to that boat in handcuffs by police?
I know I was told that they took him there so that he could have a change of clothes and get a blanket, because they were about to take him to the police station. But they used that opportunity also to search his vessel, the Soulmate.
And what's the extent of his injury?
He had an abrasion and scratches on his knee, and medication was prescribed for that, pain medication and antibiotics.
Did police say whether they found any evidence on his boat or had any reason to ask more questions because of what they saw on the boat?
No, there were no questions asked in relation to what was on his boat or any devices that he possessed. No.
Is there any indication if there's any physical evidence at all?
None. None whatsoever.
Beyond what you say the police asked about his stepdaughter's allegations, what else did police ask pointedly that leads you to think about what their line of investigation is?
Because they specifically asked him, they told him the investigation was in relation to causing harm, which led to the death of his wife.
But did they give you any hints? Did the questions tip their hand at all?
It didn't really, because we are uncertain at this point if anybody was recovered. They have not said anybody was recovered. So I'm not sure how we even got to the point of being questioned in relation to murder or even causing harm, because if you have not located the person, how can you say that harm was caused to the person? And if you have not discovered a body, how can you say whether or not foul play was involved, which led to death.
Is there a chance that he'll be in court today?
It's highly unlikely because we just did a lengthy um, interview, and the officers who sat in on the interview would not be the ones who make that decision. It's usually a decision for superior officers.
So we should expect them to be held through the weekend, for them to make that extension tonight and be held through the weekend.
It is possible, if they don't release him, that he may be here for the weekend, and if he is charged, it's possible he may attend court on Monday. That's the earliest opportunity.
Are you considering trying to file a habeas corpus petition or any other form of pushing the legal system to have him set free?
No, that is not the normal process here in our jurisdiction, because they usually act speedily and bring him before the court at the earliest opportunity. This is Friday afternoon, and so the earliest opportunity would be Monday if charged.
I mean, without him being charged. I'm saying as it stands. I mean, could you go to a judge right now and demand he be set free because they haven't charged him?
Well, it is a bit more technical than that, required filing, but we would even get anything done before Monday.
Was there anything about the line of questioning that surprised you, or anything that is new from what they may have asked you about that you could share with us?
There was nothing new. No additional evidence. It's just the general information.
Can you tell us how was he feeling? What was his emotions in that meeting today?
He was overwhelmed, he was upset, and he kept reiterating that I need to know what's happening with the search for my wife, that he wants to know what is happening with his wife. And of course, he was a bit puzzled because he was being questioned about causing harm to her or possible murder, and yet he didn't know where she was or what had happened to her.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that. Could you repeat what you just said?
Yes, he was a bit puzzled because he was uncertain as to why they were questioning him about causing harm or possible murder when they had not given him any information in terms of where she is, if they had recovered her.
They didn't ask about anything that had to do with physical evidence or forensic
No.
evidence from devices?
Nothing
This
about.
is all based on what his stepdaughter said?
I don't know if it's entirely based on that, but there was no evidence.
So we know that police recovered surveillance footage from the bar
Right.
they were at in Abaco before they went on or towards the boat.
Okay.
Did they mention anything about that in the interview?
No, nothing was said about a surveillance footage at a bar, no.
How is his knee doing?
Well, he had some discomfort, and then, we had a lengthy interview, so he had to take a break to stretch a bit. But apart from that, he's okay.
Did he get medical treatment?
Well, he got medical treatment last night, and he's waiting on medication for his injuries.
Does any of his family here?
Not in Abaco, but yes, in the Bahamas. I know there's a rumor going around that shortly after this incident, he was spotted with a woman, and people are assuming that's his sweetheart. It's actually his sister, so just wanted to clarify that. His sister is here to support him.
Is she in Freeport?
In Abaco.
In Abaco.
Yes.
I want to get a little more into the timeline of events on Saturday night into Sunday